Hi there. Welcome to part 4 of my home brewing series here. Now we're going to actually bottle the brew, but before we do that we have to actually sterilize the equipment. So in episode 3 I showed you all the equipment that I used to do this, and I went over with you sort of the procedure and how everything works. Now we're going to actually go ahead and do it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my sterilizing solution, okay, and I'm going to pour it into my bottle cleaning thing here. Okay, just like that. That's good. Great. Now, all I'm going to do now is I've got my bottles, they're already all clean. Okay, they've been cleaned out. Got my water turned on here. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottles like this. I'm going to put it over top of that. 2 or 3 or 4 squirts of the sterilizing solution. Then I'm going to rinse it out with water. I use hot water just to add to the sterilizing factor of it. And then I put it in my box. Okay, I finished that in about 7 minutes, so it was very fast the way I do it. Now, this is where I'm going to put the sugar in each of the bottles. Now, I've got my funnel, I've got my spoon. You're going to have to ask your homebrew supplier how much to put in each bottle. Each of these bottles holds about a beer and a half, okay, of a standard bottle of beer and a half. So, normally I would be putting half a teaspoon in a normal sized bottle of beer. Because this is a beer and a half, I got to put a little more than half a teaspoon. So, I'm just going to do my best to guess at it. This is my dextrose. It's the same stuff that we put into the original batch. And all I'm going to do is take just under a teaspoon, and I'm going to put it in there, and it's going to go in each bottle, just like this. And again, this only takes a few minutes, and it's actually quicker than siphoning it into a carboy, mixing the dextrose into that, and then finally bottling it. It's really not any faster to do it that way. However, you could end up with more of a uniform batch where every single bottle of beer will taste exactly the same. But you know, this way I'm being more or less accurate, although some of the bottles might have a little tiny bit more carbonation than others. I don't usually notice it, and I don't really care. Okay, there, I've finished priming my bottles, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover them up. Actually, you know, that took me about 7 minutes, so it really doesn't take very long to put the sugar in each bottle. So I'm going to put these out of the way, and then I'm going to get ready and I'm going to sterilize the rest of my equipment, and then we're going to go ahead and do the bottling. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do here, I've got all my caps. I probably got a lot more than I need here, but I'm just cleaning all of them. Putting them in the pot that I use. This is the pot that I use to actually make the beer. Just using it as a container here. And I'm going to cover these with hot water from the tap. My hot water tank has been on for quite a while, so it's got the water nice and hot, almost boiling. Just going to get all the as much water as we can off of these. Okay, I figured out a way to hook my filler tube up to my sink just by sticking it in the end of the hose. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run hot water through this thing and sterilize it. And then I'm just going to rinse this part off with hot water because it's actually going to be going into the bottles. Now you probably should be doing this with sterilizing solution, and I would recommend that. But you know, I've been doing it this way for so long, and I've never had a problem with an infection. So I'm just going to go with my luck and keep on doing it this way because it's a little quicker and easier. The water coming out of here is very hot. Just as a side note, I just forgot to mention, I ended up putting my heat belt onto my brew because my basement was getting really cold at that time, and I also put a little bit of just a blanket over half of it just to keep some of the heat in. You want to just feel, you know, the outside of your pail. If you can feel it's feeling a little bit warm, then you want to back off with the blankets and stuff like that. This little ferment lock has water in it. Now that water's been sitting there for a week. So, before I start extracting beer out of this bucket, I better remove this. Otherwise, that water is going to get sucked in and down through there, and it might contaminate my beer. So that comes off. Okay, I've connected the hose to the valve on the bottom of my brew pail, and I've got the hose running into the first beer bottle that I'm going to fill. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the tap, and I'm going to start bottling. And there it goes. Now, what's happening to me, and this happens a lot, is I'm getting a lot of foam in each bottle. So what I have to do is just stop. When the foam gets to the top, just pull out the filler tube and keep on going from bottle to bottle. And when in a few minutes, that foam will subside, and I'll be able to top up those bottles and place caps on them. And that's really all there is to this part. So, I'm just going to continue to fill these bottles, and then I'll cap them. Okay, I've gotten all these done, and I've noticed that the first ones that I did are actually a little bit calm now, so it looks like I'm going to be able to top those ones up. A little bit runs down the side. That's why I put newspaper in the bottom of the box. You know, as we're getting on in things here, we can actually start placing caps loosely on some of the bottles that are filled up completely. But we need to keep an eye on this and keep moving it around. So if you can do two things at once, it speeds things up just a little. And after this, I'll go through these and I'll tighten them all good, shake them up, and we're done. Okay, I got all my bottles filled, and the caps are loosely in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one, tighten it up nice, and invert it a few times to dissolve the sugar that we put in earlier, and that's it. Well, there you have it. It's all finished and ready to sit for about a week, and then you can start drinking them. Now, one thing you want to remember though, you want to keep these at room temperature for about a week, because there's still some yeast in there that has to ferment out a little bit, and it can't do that if it's too cold. So if you do have to store them in the basement, you have to find some way to keep them, you know, warm. So what I've been known to do is get a small chain of Christmas lights, string them around in there and spread them out, plug them in, and it keeps it, you know, a little bit warm. But just be careful. You don't want these to get too warm. I made this little thing here. It's just a thermostat hooked up to a power line, and it's got a plug on it. Plug my Christmas lights into here, set it at 20 degrees, and keeps it at perfect temperature. So that's it. Oh, I do have one that I prepared earlier. Here it is. It's kind of like a cookery show here. Oh! Well, thanks for watching. Happy brewing. See you later.